morning. Of course, right as I sat down, that sun peeked out right over the head there, so I'm going to be squinting at you this morning. Hope you all doing well. My name's Nick. I'm with the Tieta Permaculture vlog. My co-star Otto is behind me, trying to play coy like he doesn't want to be in the shot, but he does. There he is. There's Otto. I know, bud. He's been outside already, so he's less willing to want to cuddle me because he already got what he wanted to go outside and have fun. Go ahead. So yeah, today I'm just going to do a really quick kind of garden update. It's Saturday, and I have to do a little bit of work upstairs at Hacienda Rosa, so I'm going to make it quick-ish for me. You know me, guys. I like to talk, so it's easy for me to keep going. So I'm going to try to make this one quick, but we'll see how it goes. So yeah, let's get started. It'll be a garden update all around for my kind of backyard permaculture homestead here. Let's get started. This is Otto smelling the Cuban Oregano, I believe it is. You know, I'm not 100% sure. I forget what they call it locally here, but this is basically like this tropical herb, and these leaves smell pretty much exactly like oregano. It's like a very strong oregano. So if you just get a little bit of that on you, then you're gonna smell like oregano probably the rest of the day. So it's very potent, great to throw into stews or anything like that if you want that oregano flavor. And it just grows like a shrub, and it grows without much help from us. We just threw a couple. These actually all came from Rossi Naturals. Gino over at Rossi Naturals, thank Gino. I just took a couple cuttings from him and shoved them in the ground, and here we go. That's the nice thing about living in the tropics, where things grow abundantly. Otto. This is all his favorite thing to do in the morning. He's hunting for lizards. Usually I'd be in with the chickens right now, but first I'm gonna get them some feed, some fresh feed. This is Canna Lily, or a wild Canna Lily of some sort. And it just grows abundantly here, and the chickens love it. From the same family as turmeric and ginger. And it's also known as arrowroot. And I'm not sure if this one's an edible type of arrowroot or if it's a wild one. I still haven't determined that. Thanks to all the people at the beginning of this vlog cycle that was helping me identify this. Still haven't actually dug it up yet. One day I'll get to that. I'm kind of waiting for it to do it over in my garden bed over here, where I have a pretty big clump of them that have been growing since I've been here. So I know that if there are roots, they're going to be really well established and fairly loose soil, so they might actually be somewhat big. And here we are with the chickens. Good morning, bud. How you doing? How you doing, mama? And the other mama down there. As you can see, they really love that Canna Lily. They love the leaves. They go crazy over it. They'll sit here all morning and peck after it, find the little green parts. I don't think they actually eat the seeds yet. I've been waiting to watch them do that, because that would help a lot with the control, because I put a lot of these Canna Lilies in here, and when they have their seed heads on them, then I often get those Canna Lilies growing in my garden. And that's my fault, because I didn't let the compost get up to temperature, but it's also my fault because I keep bringing in more Canna Lilies with those seeds above my compost, and they just end up getting mixed in even after it heat up all the way. So, you know, I just kind of live with that, because I know it's an edible green for my chickens. So if I do see it growing in the garden, it's small, it's going to be really tender anyways. So the chickens will love that to eat as a feed. So it's no biggie. If I have a little bit of extra growth that I don't want it, I just try to use it in some way. Are you lazy already? love some of y'all's recommendations on my tomato plants here. It's I noticed the other day they're all just starting to go yellow. Not all. This plant right here is starting to go yellow. I read it could just be from a kind of water shock, deficiency of water, but it still has tomatoes growing on it. It seems to be okay. I gave it a nice heavy water yesterday, or twice yesterday actually, nice deep watering to make sure they had, and if the moisture was a problem I would see that. So I'm still waiting to see if that gets recovered at all. You can see it's kind of, it was more yellow yesterday I think. This might actually have turned a little bit more green, so I'm kind of hoping that it's just the bottom leaves dying off, because that's pretty common in plants where the bottom leaves will die off as it gets bigger. But I suspect that, or just heading into the season, those guys are probably, I don't know, they've probably been there for at least 2 months, maybe even 3 months. So I might also just be heading towards the end of their production. These guys are doing well since transplant. This kale has started to show some new growth down there, which I'm pretty happy about. This guy also is showing new growth, this Asian green, Asian kale kind of thing. Starting to get flowers dying off, which means I might have seeds soon from this. We did pick a flower from here the other day for Katie. This garden is doing great. These New Zealand spinach are kind of spreading out a little bit more. You can see they're kind of clambering along. That's the behavior I expected them to do. And they are perennial, so once they actually spread out and get all over this bed, they should be here for the long term and then give us come again greens. Oh, I just remember that I have to be saving some of these for Gino to use as smoker material for bees, doing bees. I'm going to be helping him hopefully next week if all this kind of corona craziness, works out, or non-craziness I guess for this. I'm going to be going there helping him with the bees, and hopefully I'll be filming that next week too. So I'm going to steal some of these for you, Gino, stealing from my path here, because I know that these guys are fairly well used and starting to decay anyway. I can replace them later. So I need to let these dry out so they're nice and they burn easily. So I'm just going to probably leave them right out here. Katie will probably move them and throw them somewhere if I forget to tell her. But that'll be a project. I like working with bees. I haven't really been like an official beekeeper yet, but I have helped a lot with bees in my past, and I always enjoy it. I find, especially when I've helped capture a few bee swarms when they're swarming. Last place I worked was an organic farm, and we had an apiary there, and apparently bees actually congregate a lot around apiaries because they tend to have a lot of food sources for them around. So it's very common to have bees who are swarming actually land right near an apiary, an existing apiary. So what's cool about that is when they're swarming, they're not protective. They're not trying to protect their base. They're only trying to protect the queen, which is usually at the center of that swarm. So you can actually stick your hand into the bee swarm and not get stung, because they're not trying to defend anything. They're just trying to make sure their queen's okay, and they're just kind of standing by until someone comes back and says, "Oh, I found the perfect nest site for us," and then they'll start kind of building their next hive. Check in on our greenhouse from seeding the other day. I'll leave that link above when we were seeding these, but as you can see, these melons are really popping up. They came up really strong. Zucchini, I'm getting a couple come up. I'm just basically seeding another round of zucchini. I just did 4 here, just so I can spread them out around my garden. My zucchini now is just starting to think about producing, so I wanted to have a couple more that I can transplant out, and if just to have another round. So when the ones that are producing now stop, I have another round that will probably start kicking in. Phacelia is a flowering plant that attracts bees. It's also known as bee bringer. Calendula, really good medicinal flowering herb. So far, I have one plant growing on site that's actually doing decently, but so far, not too much luck. As you can see, we need to water this. All right, so I like to water. I'm using this mist setting on this kind of multi. Here we go. This mist setting on the multi kind of sprayer nozzle thing, and that's just to give a nice, easy watering on top of these plants, so they don't get over If you use like the shower setting, especially when they're really young and tender like this, they can kind of knock them over and cause them a little bit of stress. So I like to use the misting setting. And if it gets really, really hot, my buddy Peter was mentioning that his soil blocks really dry out really quickly. And that's the case with me too if you don't have the right mix. You need to make sure you have enough organic material and something that holds moisture in your soil blocking mix to actually hold that moisture for long enough. So I'm giving them a nice deep water because I think it's going to be another hot day today, so I just want to make sure they have plenty in here before we get going for the day, before I'm out of here and I can't watch them the rest of the day. All right, that task is done. And what I do here to, another thing I do to try to keep them a little bit more wet throughout the day is actually I keep my door open. I keep the greenhouse door open during the day to allow that kind of hot air, because I'm in the tropics here, right? So that really, really hot air that I'm getting here, it won't overheat in here. And right now when the sun's coming up really early, you can see I'm getting a lot of sunlight in here, so that might dry this out a little bit. These guys I have kind of protected over here by the plastic. Now, once we get into summer, I'm probably gonna have to add a shade cloth to this to give it a little less heat stress, but for now it's working just fine. Cucumbers doing really well. They're getting to the point now they're starting to send out these tendrils, so I need to, my plan here is essentially to wrap this trellis around with wire or string kind of in a spiral fashion so they can just grab on as they climb up and find their way. I actually added this the other day. I'm not sure if you guys saw that video, but I had this palm frond, so it's the stem of the palm frond there, like right in the middle there. I cut off all the leaves with my hand sickle and I'm left with that little stem, and that's what this is right here. So you can see this is where all the leaves were. But this is a really good, it lasts a long time. They'll just kind of sit there and not degrade because they're really high in silica, so they take a long time to break down. So it acts as great as another one of my posts, and I actually used a zip tie because I was out of any kind of string or lashing material. I usually just use all the hay bale strings that I have after I take apart the hay bale, but couldn't find any, and I couldn't find my other string, so I had a zip tie laying around, so that works just fine. But yeah, I'm really happy about these cucumbers, excited to see them grow. They seem to be really healthy, really happy, so hopefully I'll get a good, decent amount of production out of them. This watermelon over here, it was yellowing at one point, and I thought I was gonna lose it, but I just added a little bit more compost and that deep mulch, and that seemed to do the trick. Right next to this watermelon, I have this beautiful sunflower. That's my favorite one yet. It's the best one we've had. It's huge, beautiful, it's loving it. Really excited to see. We had a couple others, but they didn't get enough sunlight, so they didn't get super big, super tall. But that guy is nice, and that's the one I'm going to be saving seeds from. That's the one that has produced without much help from me and is the biggest so far and the most beautiful. So that's the genetics I want for my property. And hopefully it's adapted to my property. We do have these other sunflowers coming up over here, which will hopefully produce for us and maybe even give us more just like that. Also provide a little kind of shade screen for the chickens so we don't see that net as much. I'm also trying to get this melon to climb up onto here without the chickens eating it, but as you can see I'm doing a pretty bad job at that. I keep thinking they're going to do it, but there you can see they ate it all off and it's now off the ground. So I'm going to have to find a better way to do this. I'll probably have it, I need to basically get it to go high enough so they can't eat it before it gets established way up there, and then it'll be fine. So that'll be another project. I just keep trying things, you know. It'd be cool if it was climbing along there, but the chickens might preclude that. Let's see here. Calabasa looks like it's going to be small. It might be ready somewhat soonish. I'm starting to see this yellowing here. So we're probably heading towards its production end, but we'll see. I don't see any new ones on here, but fun that we actually got one that I didn't even plant. That was just a volunteer that was here. These plátanos, plantains, they're growing like crazy. These guys are going nuts, which I'm super happy about. Be nice to have some plantain production on the site. This palm frond was here to protect the soil from the heavy rains that we never got. They keep pushing it back. It was supposed to be on Thursday, and then it was supposed to be Friday, and now today is Saturday. It's supposed to be tomorrow, except now I just looked, and tomorrow it's no longer supposed to be. It's supposed to be maybe next week, so who knows. It's kind of hard here in the tropics to really kind of nail down the weather, because we're influenced by so many different things here. The Saharan dust is actually the Saharan dust from the Sahara Desert across in Africa actually plays a huge role in both fertilizing the tropics, but also the weather patterns of the tropics. This big weather event that we're supposed to get, I think was supposed to be coming off of South America and coming up towards us, but they just keep pushing it back. So we'll see if we actually get it at any point. I'm hopeful we do, because we could use the rain. Update on my little jalapeno flower. It has flowered officially. Still have not gotten any fruit, but that's to be expected. It takes a little time. And let's talk about my zucchini over here. So this zucchini that was pretty sad and pretty dying for a while has really popped back to life. I am getting a little bit of this kind of powdery mildew here. I keep picking off and eat, like, especially the bottom leaves that have it. These bottom leaves down here, I'll kind of cut those off and bring them over to the chickens, and they'll just work it into the compost and take care of it that way. But so far, these guys they're recovering. They're shooting out new flowers. They're much more green than they were before. They're almost as green as the ones below them, which has been green the whole time. So I'm pretty happy about that. This is the one that's been producing, or has been the most productive thus far. It has produced, although I think I'm not getting enough pollination, because these zucchini flowers are getting a little, or see how they're kind of shriveling up there and not quite producing. So I think that means they're having a lack of pollination, which means I maybe need to try hand pollinating. But there is another one over there that seems to be doing a little better. It's hard to learn all this stuff, guys. Ooh, you got a spider web there. It's hard to learn all this stuff. It's I'm no master gardener, that's for sure. I certainly have studied lots of gardening, and I'm learning as I go, but I don't think anyone who would consider me a master gardener, nor would I. But it's just about learning as you go. You learn. You can certainly base everything off of someone who's an expert, and just take their word for it. And that's a great way to get started. Like, learn from the experts, learn from the people who know what they're doing, and apply it to your site. But in my opinion, it's almost better to learn by failing. I don't want you to fail, but learning by failing means you're going to learn the lessons yourself very intimately, and then you're going to know that and remember that into the future. My little baby watermelon down here doing well. Very, very excited about that. I had one that I had to pick off because it was being eaten, so I'm hoping that this one stays. There's another little baby down here. There's another one here. I think there's another one over here somewhere. I think we have 4 on right now. Very exciting, because we love pineapple here, and we love watermelon here, and it's very nice in the middle of the summer when it's super, super hot. Not that it's not super hot now, but especially in the middle of summer when it's super hot. All right, guys, that's it. That's my garden update. It's gonna be, like I said, as I promised, short. Actually, I have no idea if it's short. We'll see when I edit, but I think it's gonna be short. If you like what I'm doing, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me get more reach, and also gives me a little bit of motivation to keep going, keep producing these videos when I know that you guys actually like them and you want to see more. And with that, I see my lady's coming out, which means I get to go see her and kiss her for the first time today, which is very exciting. So I'm gonna leave you at that. You have a good one. Have a good weekend. Until next time, have a great day.